Lebanese Health Minister Firas Abiad reported that thousands of people were injured yesterday when the pagers of Hezbollah terrorists unexpectedly exploded. Hezbollah's Hebraic neighbors to the south reportedly played the operation pretty close to the old Bekisha, only informing the United States after it had already taken place. The attack raises all sorts of questions. Ethically, was it justified? Does it meet the criteria of just war? Operationally, how did it even happen? The whole thing seems like something out of Looney Tunes, with jihadi coyote buying a bunch of Acme electronics from a roadrunner in a yarmulke. And then politically, who wins and who loses? This, to me, this latter question, is the most complex and the most interesting. The attack is obviously bad for Hezbollah, which means that it's bad for Iran. It's bad for the poor civilians caught in the crossfire. It's good, obviously, for Israel. It's bad, I think, for America, in as much as it raises the risk that we'll be dragged into another war in the Middle East. But it's especially bad for Democrats, because the Democrat activist base hates Israel and will blame Biden and Harris for supporting Israel too much, while the elite Democrat class still broadly supports Israel and will blame Biden and Harris for not supporting Israel enough. This has been the Democrats' problem all election cycle. The more Israel is in the news, the worse it is for Democrats, which means the attack is good, I think, for Republicans who need to depress Democrat enthusiasm and also ideally win some Muslim votes in Michigan. In short, the whole episode is completely insane, which makes it par for the course in the Middle East and par for the course in the 2024 election. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. A Trump-aligned group is running Spanish-language ads, which is sometimes controversial on the right because we want to reach Spanish-speaking voters, but we want to speak English and everything. These are unique, though, in that they are ads threatening with deportation if they vote. It's a do not vote ad. So we'll get into the implications of all that in one moment. First, though, speaking of things that catch fire, you need to get your Mayflower cigars. This is a little bit of a public service announcement right now. I just got off the road. I was in Texas. I was in Virginia. I was in D.C. One of my favorite things about being on the road now is people are asking for Mayflower cigars wherever we go. And so after the events, we'll go have a cigar together. It's a beautiful thing. You're going to want to have cigars with your family. Thanksgiving is coming up, and we haven't even completed the first year of Mayflower Cigars' existence. The company that I'd been thinking of and plotting out for at least 5 years, really closer to 15 years in the early stages. We've had some supply issues because demand has outstripped supply. As we get into Halloween, as we get into Thanksgiving, certainly, as we get into that holiday season, if you want Mayflower cigars, the 8-count sampler pack, the boxes, fresh packs, whatever you want, you have to get them now. All I'm saying is do not blame me when you go to order them for Thanksgiving and they're sold out. That's not my fault. I gave you fair warning. Right now, we're going to be in retail stores very shortly, but for right now, you can only get them online. So go get your Mayflower cigars today. And then with the rest of your money, you can go check out Birch Gold. Text Knowles to 989898. Let's talk about something that's probably keeping you up at night. Inflation. With Harris proposing these massive tax hikes, it might be time to make more of your savings tax-sheltered and inflation-sheltered. That is why I trust Birch Gold Group. They will assist you in converting your retirement account into physical gold, and you don't pay a penny out of pocket for the conversion. Here's what you need to do. You just text the word Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, to 989898. Get a free info kit on gold. That is K-N-O-W-L-E-S to 989898. Wait, there's more. This is the final month for you to take home your very own limited edition, highly coveted, one-of-a-kind 24-karat gold-plated Truth Bomb on qualifying purchases. Right now, text Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, to 989898 to claim your eligibility before September 30th. In a time of high taxes and high inflation, protect your savings with gold from Birch Gold. Text Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, to the number 989898 for your free info kit today. We've talked about the political implications of the pager explosion, Looney Tunes attack from Israel on Hezbollah. A lot of people are talking about the ethical implications. This was a really weird attack. Something like 4,000 people are injured, and relatively not that many people died, but there was reported that a young girl was killed in this, obviously a civilian. So it raises ethical questions about the attack. Some are arguing that this was unjust, this was a violation of the Geneva Conventions, that this was ethically unacceptable. As I examine the details, what we know about it, I don't really see why this kind of attack would not be justified. The only part of it really to me that raises ethical questions is the fact that there was a civilian, maybe more than one civilian casualty, but certainly this young girl who was killed, which is absolutely horrible, of course. But a civilian being killed in an act of war does not necessarily mean that act of war was not justified. Civilians are always killed in war. That's what happens in war. The question is, who's being targeted? The question is one of proportionality. The question is one of the justification for the war itself, whether or not the combatants have gone to war in a way that was justified. Then we can examine how the war is conducted and whether that is justified. And everything I see here suggests that Israel played a little clever. It was definitely a little weird convincing these Hezbollah people to accept pagers that they had loaded with explosives and rigged to blow up. We haven't seen something like that before, but I don't really see how it's unjustified. Obviously, the people being targeted were combatants. They weren't even really legal combatants in as much as Hezbollah is a terrorist group that does target civilians and has targeted Israeli civilians. So the intention seems fine. The targeting seems fine. The pagers were being used by militants. In fact, the very use of the pagers implies that the person using them was a militant, because it's not just that Hezbollah doesn't have any money. Hezbollah has plenty of money. They get the money from Iran. The reason they weren't using iPhones or Androids is because reportedly earlier this year, the leader of Hezbollah told his men not to use cell phones because the Israelis were hacking into the cell phone. So he ordered them to use this older technology. So this raises all sorts of questions then. Was there someone inside Hezbollah who was in on the scheme with the Israelis? How did the Israelis get these pagers into the hands of Hezbollah? And did Hezbollah decide to use the pagers before Israel came up with this scheme? Was the decision to use the pagers part of the scheme? I don't know. I mean, operationally, it's really pretty wild. But in terms of the ethics of the whole thing, it seems pretty clear cut to me. I don't. If anyone has an argument as to why this kind of attack would be unethical, I'm all ears. But every angle I look at it from, it seems pretty clear cut to me. Crazy, wild, insane. The fact that specifically they blew off these militants' crotches. I mean, that's really like twisting the knife. But I don't know. You fire a lot of rockets into a country, don't be surprised when the country fights back, particularly in a way that targets specifically these militants. Now, speaking of insane political operations, P. Diddy. Now, one way to give yourself lots of energy and nutrients is to check out Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com/Knowles. As we approach the upcoming presidential election, your voice is not just heard at the ballot box every 4 years. You cast a vote every single day with your dollar. That is why I trust Good Ranchers for all my meat. It is time to say goodbye to mystery meat pumped full of who knows what from who knows where. Good Ranchers sources all their meat exclusively from American farms. You are getting 100% American meat. No antibiotics, no added hormones, definitely no seed oils, just pure steakhouse quality cuts that'll make you wonder why you ever settled for less. Every cut is pre-trimmed, individually packed, vacuum sealed, meaning no more messy meal prep or wasted food. Right now, Good Ranchers is having a presidential promo. For a limited time, you can get a free add-on for a whole 4 years. That's until the next election. It means when you subscribe to any of their boxes, you get to decide if you want extra plain chicken breast, Angus ground beef, Applewood smoked bacon, or wild-caught salmon in every order for 4 years. If you want to taste American freedom, tradition, the way of life, the Knowles way, you get my custom box. That is the Knowles box. Make sure you go right now to goodranchers.com/Knowles. Use code Knowles. You will lock in the presidential promo worth over $1,200, guaranteeing your family 100% American meat till 2028. It's absolutely magnificent food. It is my favorite meat ever. Go to goodranchers.com/Knowles. Promo code Knowles. Get the Knowles box. Good Ranchers American meat delivered. Speaking of criminals, illegal aliens are going to be watching a new political ad. This is an ad put out by a Trump-affiliated group. And it's a political ad in Spanish. This has been controversial, as I mentioned earlier, on the right, because there are many Republicans who say, hey, I don't want our campaigns to run ads in Spanish. One of the things that we stand for, one of the basic things we stand for is American unity and assimilation and our traditional culture. And our culture doesn't traditionally speak Spanish. We don't traditionally speak all sorts of languages. We don't press 3 for English on customer service lines. If we don't stand for everyone speaking English and, assimilating to America, what the hell do we stand for? What good are conservatives? So they have a principled ideological objection to Spanish language ads. But then there are these other Republicans who say, hey, guys, the demographics of the country have changed. The Democrats have imported millions and millions of people, largely from Latin America. And so we need their votes. If we just say we don't want your votes, we don't try to meet them where they are, then they're going to vote for Democrats and we're going to lose elections and we're not going to have any power whatsoever. So there's a really practical prudential argument to run ads in Spanish. Well, I think this ad run by this Trump-affiliated group manages to unite the two camps for the first time ever, which is they're running ads in Spanish, castigating illegal aliens from Latin America and telling them not to vote if they are, because they could be deported.
En Estados Unidos, el
In
voto es un
America,
derecho sagrado
the vote is a
garantizado por
sacred
nuestra
right.
Constitución. Es un derecho por el que hombres y mujeres por siglos
It is a
estuvieron
right
dispuestos
that
a
men and
sacrificar
women
sus vidas
have
para
sacrificed their
protegernos.
lives
Si
for.
eres ciudadano estadounidense, cumple con tu deber. Regístrate para votar y vota.
If you're an
Pero es
American
legal
citizen,
que los
register to vote and
ciudadanos
vote. But
voten
it
en
is
las elecciones
illegal
federales,
for
incluidas las
non-citizens to
elecciones
vote.
presidenciales de 2024.
In the presidential election in
Hacerlo es
2024,
generalmente un delito
that is a
federal,
federal
un delito
crime,
que te puede llevar a la deportación. Solo
and
los
you could be
ciudadanos
deported for it.
estadounidenses pueden votar por presidente
Only
y
American
otros cargos
citizens can vote for
federales.
president. Wow. Love this. Paid for by the Article 3 Foundation. Really, really love this. And listen to how the establishment media is reporting on it. NBC News. A conservative group is launching a Spanish language advertisement in critical battleground states that strikes two drastically different tones. First, touting voting as patriotic, but warning that it's illegal for non-citizens to vote. The ad campaign, shared exclusively with NBC News, was paid for by a dark money group linked to a controversial ally of Trump. A dark money group. What do you mean a dark money group? It's just a political group. There are plenty of political groups. There are all sorts of political groups on the left. Many, many, many more groups, but they're never called dark money groups on the left. They're called organizations standing up for democracy. The Brennan Center for Justice and Democracy and Freedom and Goodness. The MoveOn.org, so we can move on from bed. Those are all really light money groups. It's only when anyone does anything on the conservative side, then it's a dark money group. Their money, I don't know what it is. It's got too much ink on it or something. It's too dark. It's a dark money group. Then this is the key. NBC moves on. They say, it is very rare for non-citizens to try to vote in elections. Studies have found virtually no instances of it happening and no evidence that it could be occurring at a rate large enough to affect the outcome of an election. There's no evidence. It's not real. And it's really, really bad that the Republicans are telling not to vote. Hold on, wait, what? You just said that the problem being addressed by this advertisement doesn't really exist. So, fine. Right, you should have no problem with this advertisement. In fact, if the liberals really believe that illegal aliens are not voting, they should love this advertisement. They should want this advertisement to air everywhere. One, because it will deplete campaign funds that could be used on other aspects of the 2024 race from Republicans. And two, because it's encouraging legal Spanish speakers to go vote, which is good because Spanish speakers vote at much higher rates for Democrats. So that should be good for Democrats. Should be thrilled. They should be putting money into this ad if they aren't voting. But the way I read this, I don't know. NBC News sounds real worried about an ad that supposedly won't have any effect on the election. It's not, studies show. What do you mean studies show? Every week now, it seems we're seeing more and more people accidentally registered to vote. We talked about one on the show yesterday, the day before. Oh, oopsie daisy. We found out because of motor voter laws in Oregon or elsewhere, in maybe more critical swing states, that because non-citizens are allowed to get driver's licenses, and it was just a clerical error, the poor bureaucrat who gave them their license at the DMV, they accidentally registered them to vote. These are accidents that occur because of intentional policies that make it more likely for these accidents to occur. Where is this ad going to air? ESPN Deportes, Galavisión, Univision, Fox Deportes, and other Spanish channels, as well as Spanish language talk radio. Okay. Sounds good to me. If I'm good with this because I think illegal aliens vote, and I think there's pretty good evidence for it. So I want this ad to air. Just look, even if only one illegal alien, even if no illegal aliens voted, but some were tempted to vote, this would be good as a public service announcement to make sure we uphold the rule of law and maintain the integrity of our elections in our sacred democracy, which the Democrats tell us is so important. But if, as the Democrats say, the illegal aliens don't vote, well, great, all the better. You've just spent Republicans' money in a way that won't affect the election. Great. Might even help you if the legal Spanish speakers vote. That's great, right? The fact that the libs are so angry about this, I think, tells you which side is right. Speaking of policies, you got to check out Policy Genius. Go to policygenius.com/Knowles. Every big election gets me thinking about the future, not just about the next 4 years, the next 40 years. What kind of America will we leave for our children and grandchildren? It's a sobering thought, isn't it? Well, here's the thing. While we fight the good fight we can politically, we also need to take care of our families' futures. That's the fundamental unit of politics. That's where Policy Genius comes in, the country's leading online insurance marketplace. Policy Genius helps you find the right life insurance policy at the best price, so you have one less thing to prepare for in these uncertain times. Their prices might surprise you. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options even offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary and inconvenient medical exams. Policy Genius makes it super easy. Right now, you can be ready for the future with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/Knowles or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes. See how much you can save. policygenius.com/Knowles. Now, speaking of criminals and people who could be prosecuted, right now, the Democrats don't want to prosecute the illegal aliens in our country who worked with the cartels to cross the border, controlled entirely by the cartels. The Democrats want to prosecute you. Hillary Clinton, the once and future Democrat candidate, the eternal Democrat candidate for president, she has called for a criminal prosecution of people who promote Republican propaganda.
I think it's important to indict the Russians, just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence.
Be a much better deterrent if any time people said anything that Hillary Clinton doesn't like, they were at the very least brought up on a civil matter. It cost them a lot of money, but probably they should be criminally prosecuted too. Because, you see, if we don't prosecute and imprison Hillary Clinton's political enemies for disagreeing with her, why then we might lose our sacred democracy. Then our sacred Constitution would be shredded if we allow Republicans to say what they think. Notice how she tries to blur two totally separate issues. She says Russians who are interfering in our political process should be prosecuted. Okay? And Americans who perhaps agree with them or perhaps say things that they don't even say but are just kind of adjacent to what they say, or really if they just Americans say things I don't like, they should be prosecuted too. Well, hold on. Russia could buy a bunch of political ads. Not that Russia's had much effect at all in politics. You remember back in 2016, when we were told the Russians interfered in that election, handed it to Trump. What did they do? They spent something like $100,000 on Facebook ads. That's nothing. DailyWire has spent $100,000 on Facebook ads in like a matter of hours probably not recently, but at various points in our history. That's true not just of DailyWire. That's true of like any media company. New York Times, NBC. How much? The New York Times has spent way more money promoting things like the 1619 Project. Give me $100,000 in Facebook ads. This is nothing for a media company. So, okay, well, yeah, they were interfering. What about recently? Supposedly, the Russians had bought off this group, Tenet Media, which had a handful of conservative commentators on it. Okay, Tenet Media, in its 9 months of existence, got something like 16 million views on YouTube, which 16 million sounds like a big number. When you consider that the Russians allegedly paid $10 million for 16 million views, and it was spread out among multiple commentators, that is nothing, guys. I mean, that is the Russians not making an even slight dent into American politics. And by the way, the content that was put out by that company that was allegedly a Russian front was content that was already being produced before the Russians got involved at all. So Hillary's taking this problem that sounds like a big problem and that in principle would be a big problem, and then uses that to say that's why Americans need to be prosecuted. So let's say Russia ran an ad on Facebook and it said, America should stop funding the war in Ukraine. Right? That is a position that Vladimir Putin holds, for sure. It's a position that many people in the world hold, maybe most people in the world hold, but Vladimir Putin's one of them. So it says America should stop funding the war in Ukraine. There are Americans who are patriots, who don't have any particular affection for Russia, who don't know anything about Vladimir Putin, who don't, good old tough Americans who just think we shouldn't be fighting this war, that this war is not a good war to fight. It's not in the American interest. It's not going to really lead to any strategic advantage, probably even for the Ukrainians. It's just going to lead to a lot more people dying. And actually, maybe it might undermine American national security. There are plenty of smart, patriotic Americans who believe that. Well, according to Hillary Clinton, those people should be prosecuted. If Vladimir Putin he runs a Facebook ad, says, water is good, you should drink water. And then some American says, I like water. Water is good. I enjoy water. Well, listen, that guy was spreading propaganda. He was agreeing with Vladimir Putin. But really, of course, what this is all about is just censoring the political opponents of the left. These people really don't like you. You remember Rachel Vindman? Talked about her on the show yesterday or the day before. Rachel Vindman is the wife of Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who was this guy who was a subversive character on the National Security Council during the Trump administration, tried to get Trump impeached because, I don't know, he didn't like Trump's foreign policy. Trump's foreign policy was too successful for this guy. So he wanted to go back to all the failed foreign policies of people like Barack Obama, and now we see Joe Biden. And so he undermined him. He made himself a big Trump critic. And so his wife, when Trump was nearly murdered for the second time a few days ago, she tweeted out, "No ears were harmed. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon." That was her response to the second near assassination of President Trump. Then, when people criticized, myself included, when they criticized that ghastly, disgusting tweet, she replied and she said, "Sorry, you're triggered." Then 3 laughing emojis, said, "I mean, no, I'm not. I don't care a little bit." And then a little heart emoji, like a hand heart emoji. Okay, so she doubled down on it. Then she walked it back. She said, "I've deleted my tweet. It was flippant. Political violence is a serious issue. Whether it's aimed at a former president, the media, immigrants, or political enemies, and every incident should be addressed appropriately if we want to change the tenor of our political discourse." Hold on, wait, that's a big shift. She said, "I've deleted my tweet. It was flippant and political violence is a serious issue." First, you made clear you don't think it's a serious issue. Then you doubled down and made clear you knew exactly what you were saying when you said it wasn't a serious issue, and you said it wasn't a serious issue again. Then you say, "Well, I've deleted it." You said political violence is serious. And she goes, "Whether it's at a former president or the media." Okay, hold on. The media are on the left. The former president's on the right. The media are on the left. That's something that the left holds dear. or immigrants, that's something that the left really holds dear, mass migration, or political enemies, that I think is coded to mean people on the left. So she's saying, look, political violence is very serious. And sometimes, whatever, it's a Trump or something. But most of the time, political violence is aimed at the left. I mean, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. And all the major instances of political violence in recent memory have been from leftists against conservatives. Brett Kavanaugh almost being murdered, Maxine Waters calling on her supporters to physically push back on Republicans in public, Hillary Clinton saying you can't be civil with Republicans, the Bernie bro shooting up the congressional baseball game, almost killing Steve Scalise, Rand Paul's neighbor, breaking his ribs. All instances of left-wing political violence against the right. Obviously, the two attempted assassinations of Trump. But she says, no, it's a problem the other way around. And then she follows it up with another tweet. I've sat awake many nights, wondering who might be outside. I've known the instant fear of receiving an unknown package or letter. I've had my child ask me if we were safe and if someone was going to hurt our family. And then finally she concludes, with social media, it's easy to say the wrong thing and then walk away. But if words matter, for some, they should matter for all. I don't always get it right the first time, or the second time in this case, or really any of the times. I'm grateful to all who have supported us throughout the past 5 years. Okay, what is this about? What is it? Why am I reading this woman's tweets? Because Rachel Vindman has given us a masterclass in lib communications. This is not really a private citizen. Her husband is a major public figure. She has made herself a public figure. I don't like going after spouses. If this woman would keep her trap shut and remain a private citizen and tend to the home of the Vindman household, I would not bring her up even once. If it were merely her husband who's made himself a public figure, but she's made herself a public figure. She makes public statements. She's the one all over social media. She's weighing in on political issues. And also, her brother-in-law is currently running for Congress, which I think explains the change in tone. It would be one thing if she said this ugly, disgusting thing, and then the next thing she said was, look, that was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, we got to have grace. We understand. She said the ugly, disgusting thing. She then clarified, said, I totally mean it. I am dead serious. I don't care that Trump was almost killed. I think it's kind of a joke, actually. So what's the masterclass in the liberal response? The masterclass is laugh at heinous things, celebrate heinous things often, double down, walk it back, not because you've had a change of heart, but because you find out that it's politically damaging, and then make yourself out to be the real victim. That is the rule book. That is how you do it. She just showed us perfectly how the libs do these things. And they're gonna do it. Mark my words, she will not be the last one. It's been 3 days now or something since the second near assassination of Trump. The libs will almost uniformly figure out a way to make this about them, to make themselves the victims here. Now, speaking of liberal propaganda, some liberal propaganda is too outrageous and absurd, even for left-wing CNN. CNN has just called out the Kamala Harris campaign for spreading fake news. Fact check. Harris campaign's social media account has repeatedly deceived with misleading edits and captions. Social media account run by Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign has been repeatedly deceptive. The Kamala HQ account, which has more than 1.3 million followers on the X social media platform, has made a habit of misleadingly clipping and inaccurately captioning video clips to attack President Donald Trump. Now, I know this is true. The article only mentions the lies that are directly about Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance. I know that the Harris campaign account lies about people because they lie about me all the time. I don't complain about it really because I find that the Kamala Harris campaign account clips out some of my best stuff. They have taken on the role of Media Matters. Ever since that left-wing activist group has been hit with all sorts of legal and financial problems, they're not doing as good a job at publicizing my show. So the Kamala Harris campaign has stepped in and they clip out some of the best stuff from my show and then they lie about it. And Media Matters usually didn't lie about it. They usually mostly get it right. The Kamala campaign, though, will tweet out about me. They'll say, top Trump operative Michael Knowles, working for the Project 2025, says, and then they'll say something that I didn't even say. And I say plenty of things that they should attack me for because they're leftists, and I say things that are common sense and normal. So, that's their chief enemy. But they lie about it all the time. And so they even the left is now recognizing this is too much. So what does that mean? Some people are going to wrongly conclude that CNN is really, good on CNN. They're playing fair and square here. They're recognizing that the left has gone too far, and it's not only the right that deals with fake news. And maybe no, that's not what this is about. This is not about CNN working down the middle. This is an intra-left-wing spat. This is left-wing group Kamala Harris campaign versus left-wing group CNN. And it is a debate not over facts. It's not a debate over the news. It's a debate over campaign tactics. The Kamala Harris campaign is saying we can just lie brazenly with a straight face about our enemies and that will be good. And CNN is saying, no, if you lie so brazenly in such an absurd way, especially with community notes on X, which is, of course, why they're focusing on this platform, the one platform that has real-time popular fact checks that more often get the fact checks right. CNN is saying, if you keep lying this brazenly, you're going to make our whole operation look dishonest. You're screwing this up for us, kid. That's what this debate is about. If you are tempted to give CNN credit, hold on, back away. You never, in fact, have to hand it to CNN. This is an intra-left-wing spat. The Kamala Harris campaign is they've just taken it too far. The libs are saying, no, when you're going to lie, you got to lie a little bit better. Now, if you want news that doesn't have lies, then you got to go check out DailyWire. Our 47% off deal for new DailyWire Plus memberships ends today. At the Daily Wire, we deliver the breaking news and full stories the left-wing media ignore. The mainstream media's silence on the second assassination attempt on former President Trump proves that you need the truth now more than ever. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe right now. Use code FIGHT for 47% off your new Daily Wire Plus membership before it's gone. That's dailywire.com/subscribe, code FIGHT. My favorite comment yesterday is from Kitty Larimore 1287. Who says the cats realized Trump is trying to save them and have awarded him a set of 9 lives. Wow. That might explain it. There will be someday legends that crop up about this period. Trump is a world historic figure. And there will be legends, because sometimes legends crop up that are based in historic fact, but they take on fanciful details over time. I would not be surprised if there are legends that crop up someday and say, yes, Donald Trump, the way that in the old United States, there was an orange fellow with, I don't know why the people telling us are Irish. There was an orange fellow with blonde hair. Donald Trump, Donald Maximus, Donald Magnus the Great, Donald. And Donald, bullets wouldn't, they called him the Teflon Don, the bullets would bounce right off him, he'd slip right off him. Where did he acquire his powers? Well, because the Donald protected the cats from the dastardly Democrats and the Haitian immigrants. They were cooking the cats, and the cats one day at the cat convention decided to bestow upon the Donald 9 lives. And the Donald used his 9 lives, and who knows how many more times the Dems are going to try to kill Trump. That will be a silver lining in this crazy storm cloud. That legend will be a beautiful thing someday. Now, speaking of the Democrats running hard on fake news, 2 days after the assassination attempt, the second assassination attempt, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre proved to the American people exactly where the Democrats stand, exactly where the White House stands, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, on reducing the temperature of our rhetoric.
Just to clarify, so you're saying that the president and vice president believe that former President Donald Trump should be toning down his rhetoric?
So I'll say this. President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy. He's been clear-eyed about that.
There it is. So hold on. I love this reporter. She goes, hold on. You're telling me that after they try to blow this guy's head off twice, He's the problem. His rhetoric is the problem. He just, he was wearing a short skirt down a dark alleyway. He shouldn't have said that it's bad to eat cats. He shouldn't have said it's better when the economy is strong. He shouldn't have said we want less war. He shouldn't have said that immigration law should be enforced. And so it's his fault. He's got to tone down his rhetoric if he wants us to stop shooting him in the head. That's what you're saying, Karine Jean-Pierre? And her answer is, yeah, pretty much. You got it. Trump poses a threat to our democracy. Not just he's going to be bad for the country, not just his policies are really awful, not just he sends mean tweets, and that's below the stature and dignity and character of America. No. The president has been clear about his view that Trump poses an existential threat to the country. And if someone poses an existential threat to your country, that justifies killing him. That's right there in the word existential. That's what she's saying. What the White House is saying is, hey, anyone out there who might want to pop off President Trump, try again. Have better aim next time. Hide your position in the sniper nest. That's what they're saying. If they wanted there to be less political violence, and political violence, as I pointed out at a speech at Washington and Lee just a couple days ago, political violence is a left-wing phenomenon in America. If they wanted there to be less political violence, the White House would come out and say, look, sometimes in politics we speak with hyperbole, sometimes we exaggerate. President Trump, he exaggerates his crowd sizes, and we exaggerated the existential threat posed by Trump. So we're not going to use that language anymore. It's being misconstrued, misunderstood. That's what a good press secretary would have said. Again, I'm trying to put myself in the position of being a Democrat press secretary working for Biden and Harris. That's what I would have said. To try to just at least give plausible deniability that we at the White House don't want Trump to be murdered. But she can't do that because Biden can't do that because Kamala can't do that. The White House is saying, yeah, try again. Try again. When they say they're upset to hear of the assassination attempts on Trump, what they're saying is we're upset it didn't work. Because this guy's Hitler, he's an existential threat to the country. Maybe next time they'll have better aim. That is exactly the meaning that Karine Jean-Pierre is conveying. So, is this campaign working? Is Harris, and I guess technically Joe Biden's still the president, so Biden and his spokesman, are they persuading people to vote for the Democrat ticket? Well, one CBS reporter, so we're talking about a liberal network news station, went out to Nevada, I think it was, and interviewed people in restaurants, talked to everyone in the restaurant, and found something kind of surprising about the relative number of people who support Trump versus Kamala.
But what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant, and we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person. People are really excited about Trump. Democrats have been winning the state, but the margins are getting smaller and smaller.
So Nevada, this is a swing state. This is an important state. She's saying, yeah, each restaurant I'm going into, one person who supports Harris. Everyone else supported Trump and loves Trump. I'm not surprised by this. Not because I think sometimes I was talking to some friends of mine. We were saying, is everyone a conservative? Like, is every single person in the country, is the notion that there are liberals just kind of a psyop by the media? Because we go to California, we go to New York, we go to liberal places, and most people we're talking to who would seem to check all the boxes that would make them identify as liberals, I don't know, they live in the liberal states, they dress like liberals, they have liberal, they smoke pot or something, they're non-white, they're this, they're that. But everyone we talk to is Republican, or is at least going to vote for Trump or something. Now, there might be a little selection bias here. I don't think it's quite like that. As the reporter mentions, the margins for Democrats are slimming down in Nevada, but it's not even really about Republican versus Democrat. This is a Kamala problem. There is no organic support for Kamala Harris. She is a completely synthetic, contrived candidate. This is the downside to not having a primary. The upside to not having a primary is you don't bloody up your nominee. The downside is you don't inspire anyone. You know, sometimes when a candidate gets bloodied up, that helps inspire support, toughens up the candidate. It sharpens their message. It introduces the candidate to voters. And then the best man wins, and that person's the nominee. In this case, there is zero organic support. This woman has never won a single vote in a primary while she was running for president. So yeah, of course, no one in these restaurants in Nevada is going to vote for her. Or at the very least, no one there is excited to vote for her. No one knows who she is. Kamala Harris doesn't know who she is. Her platform was stolen from Trump and Biden. She's nothing. And you know, the consulting class, the elite class thinks that nothing is really great. That's what these liberal technocrats want. Their ideal candidate is nobody, because they want the country to be run by a Borg. They want the country to be run by some machines, some robots. So just, you know, you put things into a spreadsheet and the answer comes out. They want President ChatGPT. But human beings don't want that. We want to be represented by people. We like people, okay? We recognize that man is the political animal and that you can't just recreate man. Man is not God. We can't make man out of nuts and bolts and microchips. So the libs get their perfect candidate. Kamala Harris is the perfect candidate because she's nothing. But the people don't like that. Now, we will be discussing this race with former Republican congressman, former New York gubernatorial nominee, and put up a very good showing in New York, by the way, and a man who knows a lot about politics. That would be Lee Zeldin. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gon' say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification.
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. Listen more for you in this field.
Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
White
folks,
White.
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around? What's a black person right here? Does he not
They gon'
exist?
say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gon' say you racist.
In theaters now. Rated PG-13.